Hi everybody, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts, and this is an extra episode, so we actually got a TV show type of review, and somebody suggested Planet Dinosaur. And what many of you actually probably would know about this is that Planet Dinosaur is actually a BBC type of series about dinosaurs. And if I remember correctly, I think it's actually 6 or 8 episodes, and it is actually kind of almost like Walking with Dinosaurs, but actually very different. It doesn't actually start out in the Triassic it doesn't really do anything that much of the Triassic at all. This is a series that is pretty much has computer animation. It's actually given dinosaurs a new light. This is actually one of the first series to actually. This was actually, I wouldn't say one of the first, but it was actually one of those series where you actually kind of get to see the science involved about paleontology in a sense, and kind of get the understanding of why paleontologists actually think certain dinosaurs are actually kind of like this, how they behave sort of like this, all that sorts of stuff. And like you actually go through most of the episodes go through the Cretaceous, that pretty much, because most of the Cretaceous episodes are actually between 110 to 70 million years ago, and so that's actually what the Cretaceous is. The Jurassic, it actually kind of falls more into 150. I would say more like, say, 160 million years to 145 million years. So it'd actually be around that particular type of time. And so these are actually this was actually for its time, it was actually a brand new version of dinosaurs, of how they actually were presented, pretty much. Now, when we actually look at the series, it is actually, for its time, it was accurate for its time. When we look at it now, it's actually dated. The science is actually a little bit dated. The reasons why, if you actually look at the first episode, it actually goes more into the African dinosaurs of about say 100 million years ago. And so it was actually around. It's pretty much the Northern African dinosaurs. You got Tyrannosaurus, Carcharodontosaurus, and Spinosaurus. Those are the only two dinosaurs. Those are the only 3 dinosaurs that are actually talked about in that episode. And the reasons for a dated evidence is the Spinosaurus. At that time, Spinosaurus was actually still thought to actually be the tallest and the largest predatory dinosaur of all time, and pretty much the largest predator that ever lived on land. But when we look at Spinosaurus right now, we actually see that it's actually a very different kind of Spinosaurus, where it has the very short back legs. The sail isn't actually kind of like a semicircle. It's actually kind of goes up, and then it goes kind of dips down, and then goes back up and goes down. Kind of that sort of sail configuration. And also the new science is actually saying that Spinosaurus was actually semi-aquatic to aquatic, so it's actually right around that particular of living habitat, because it would actually be living closely towards rivers, lakes, ponds, and so maybe actually areas where they're pretty close to the seashore, being a specialist. And we actually see a fight scene of Spinosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus. Now, there is a Spinosaurus vertebrae that has been found where the spine has been broken off. Now, could this actually be that maybe a Carcharodontosaurus and Spinosaurus probably fought over food? Possibly, but what probably happened was that either this was that either the Carcharodontosaurus did bite the vertebrae and then snapped it off, or was it actually like an injury from, like, say it was an injury from, say, like something else? Did it actually get broken off by actually competing against another Spinosaurus for territory? Was it actually broken off from like a Carcharodontosaurus probably feeding off of pieces of vertebrae and actually just snapped off the spine because it was actually a spot where there's probably still some like spots where they could actually get some meat, but that's still debatable, and whether or not Carcharodontosaurus and Spinosaurus did fight each other for food. But it could have happened. But even though it's still up for debate. As for storytelling, it's narrated by a British actor, or a British guy, whatever his name is. But he actually does a really nice job of actually showing translating the dinosaur names, and we're actually more of pronouncing those dinosaur names. And also, he does a really nice job of actually giving us a little bit of a story sometimes. But this is more of a scientific type of show. It was more of a scientific type of show. It couldn't actually do like this, like storytelling of like say this dinosaur is going off to find food. It wasn't actually doing that like Kenneth Branagh actually did in Walking with Dinosaurs, or in Prehistoric Beasts, or in Walking with Monsters. This is actually more of like a scientific type of approach. As for the special effects were decent. I wouldn't actually say they were actually as good as Walking with Dinosaurs, but I would actually say they're actually actually more like you would actually see like if you actually watched like an action movie that actually is thrown in a bunch of special effects because it needs like a bunch of explosions. It needs like characters that actually involve CGI, all that sorts of stuff. This is actually kind of a point where CGI was used way too much. I would actually say that because the background is all CGI, the locations are all CGI, it's actually everything about it is all CGI. There was no locations where they were actually able to film a lot of these places. All of it was in CGI. So you would actually be kind of cringing about this, because I don't mind CGI in terms of making dinosaur TV shows, but when you use it too much, then it actually doesn't become realistic. All it is just that you're just throwing in like kind of like a computer animated movie into the face of a lot of dinosaur fans. But even though it's still a good series, like I said, it's a good series. I don't think it's up to par as Walking with Dinosaurs. I would actually say that it would actually, in terms of like a multi-episodes of like a TV series like this, I would actually say that this is actually probably would actually go around of like, say, not up to par as the Walking With series, but it would actually be kind of below it. It would actually be below that. How I would grade this show, it's actually, I would actually give it 3.5 out of 5. It's a good series, but the CGI is used way too much. I think there should have been more practical effects on this. They could have shot in locations, but even though if they were actually on budget and they had a very small budget, that was actually more for, they can't use practical effects, they can't go on location, all they had to do is use CGI. I mean, I can understand that, but also I would actually say that it has to have that Walking with Dinosaurs type of flavor where you shot on location, you actually use practical effects to actually give more realistic adaptations of some of these animals. And I would actually say that that's a big negative for this show. It's so much CGI that you can't actually actually say it's realistic, and so it's really unrealistic. I would actually love to see the dinosaurs be a little bit more realistic, because you see, if you shot on location and you just placed the dinosaurs in this environment, it actually feels a little bit more like you're really there. Whereas if you're using CGI, it's just all over the place, where you just think like this is not even a real place. All you're doing is just showing a place where it's all CGI. I mean, yeah, the Jurassic location could have possibly have been shot on location, but even though it's still not really realistic. And so it's actually a good series. I would actually just give it like a couple watches, and you actually would understand it a little bit more. But sometimes once you actually watch it more than twice, you kind of go, it's not as good as Walking with Dinosaurs. I mean, if you watch it once, I mean, you kind of get a little bit confused. But once you actually watch it a second time, you actually go like, okay, I understand it, and it's actually where you have to start grading it, comparing to the other dinosaur documentary type of series that you actually have to look at. Because I would say this is not up to par from the Walking With series, or like When Dinosaurs Roamed America. I would actually say that this is actually just a series where you can watch it. I mean, it would have been great if it was like a film. I would actually say it would have been good if it was a film instead of a TV series. But I mean, however you want to look at it, I mean, it's actually a pretty decent series. That's why I graded it 3.5 out of 5. And so that's why I would actually say give it like that. Now this Saturday will actually be a answering questions episode. It's a couple of days away, so if you got any questions about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life, feel free to email me at dinochris71@gmail.com, or otherwise go on my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Like the page, you can actually post your questions on the wall or in the comments section on any Facebook post. But remember, keep your questions short to the point. You could also follow me on Twitter at CSGRILL. That's my Twitter page. I post pretty cool stuff on there. Also, take care of the people around you. And also, for younger people out there, listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. Those are the best motivation you can have for good education. It's very important to have a good education. So with a good education, you do a good job in the future. All right, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys this weekend.